We are going to be working on the isolation of citrus oils, and for our citrus, we are actually going to use real lemons, and I will be zesting our lemons using a cheese grater. And the reason why we want to get such very, very small pieces of peel is to increase the surface area of our peel so that we can extract the most amount of oil as possible. In this bag here, I have some grated orange peel. And so we're going to take a look at the difference between what citrus oils and what concentration of citrus oils are available in orange peel versus lemon peel. This is a green chemistry approach, so we're going to use absolutely no chemicals today for this experiment. We're just going to be using the fruit and water to do steam distillation. And we'll take you over to the distillation apparatus in just a little bit as soon as I grate about 150 grams of these lemon peels. All right, now that we have our orange peel completely grated and we have our lemon peels completely grated, I'm going to go ahead and use a large funnel to get our peels into our distillation flasks. And so, of course, we're going to do the orange separately from the lemon, so we're going to be doing two different distillation flasks here. We have already pre-measured the masses for these, so we have 150 grams of orange peels exactly. And we were a little short on the lemon here, so this is 134 grams of lemon peel, but that's okay. We're still going to be able to extract some awesome oil from our lemon peels. So I'll just go ahead and get started by scooping some. And this is going to be a little tricky just because, this opening here. But I'm going to use my scoopy lid to help push it on down. Okay, so we have our orange peels in our distillation flask, and inside of the peels we also place some boiling chips so that we can get a nice even boil happening in our distillation flask. What I'm doing right now is adding some vacuum grease to my glassware, and the vacuum grease is to help protect the glassware while it's under heat. I'm going to add just a couple of dabs of vacuum grease to every glass interface where the two pieces of glass come together. Okay, so just a couple of dots there. And, we're going to kind of give it a nice little twist. I'm also going to add the water, so I pre-greased it there. I'm going to grease it again after I add my water. So here I have 150 milliliters of deionized water, which I'm going to add to my glass. And my vacuum grease shouldn't have washed off, so we're just going to go ahead and give it another spin and double check that I can see that the grease has spread around on the glass connecting area. Okay, so now I have in my distillation flask 150 grams of orange peel, 150 milliliters of water, about 8 to 10 boiling chips distributed throughout. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the heating mantle. I'm also going to grease these glass connecting areas. So, okay, so far so good. Now, before I get going on my actual distillation here, I need to mark my area in my receiver flask. So I'm going to try to collect 70 milliliters of water, but I need to know when to stop. And I'm going to unclip my receiver flask here. I'm going to add 70 milliliters of water and create a mark here on the receiver flask so I'll know when to stop my distillation. Here's the portion that a lot of students oftentimes miss. You need to create a mark and then spill out the water, because the goal is to be able to receive the oil plus water from the distillation flask behind me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this area around the entire flask just to go ahead and give me an idea of where 70 milliliters would occur. That should be good. Now, of course, I'm going to spill it out so that my receiver flask will be ready to receive my distilled liquid. Now, a couple more things before I get going here. I have my aquarium pump, and in my aquarium pump, I'm going to fill this about halfway with a combination of ice and water, and that is what's going to be able to flow through my water jacket condenser here. My water jacket condenser is intended to cool my solution that boils over here in the heating mantle. So the goal is to get our liquid to boil. Our liquid will contain both water and the oil from the orange peels. It will boil here, become a gas. We're going to add a thermometer here so we'll be able to capture the temperature of distillation. And then once it begins passing through the water jacket here, it should cool down back into a liquid. When it becomes a liquid, it should start to drip down and into our receiver flask, and we'll continue that until we reach a volume of about 70 milliliters, which I marked with my pen. So So this is the final setup for our distillation, and if you'll notice, we have some vapor already forming at the top of the distillation flask. And I'm just going to go ahead and list out the parts that you are taking a look at. So we have our distillation flask, which is sitting in our heating mantle. Our heating mantle is what provides the heat for the system. The heating mantle is controlled by the rheostat. So the rheostat over here is connected to the electricity, and you see the light turn on to show that, you know, it's getting power. Our next item up here, this is the distillation head. So our distillation head is the interface between the distillation flask and the condenser here. Notice that the distillation head also is where our thermometer is placed, and that is so that we could keep track of what temperature the vapor is. Okay, because we will be interested in the temperature of the vapor, not the liquid down below. We're at about 20 Celsius still, roughly, so we haven't created enough vapor. The vapor has not traveled up towards the thermometer yet. Next up, we have the water jacket condenser. And if you notice, we do have some condensation happening on the outside here. This is a pretty cool item because this is kind of like a tube within a tube. Okay, the inside part of this condenser is clear. It's an empty tube. Okay, but then there's a second tube on the outside where water is allowed to flow. So the water is coming in through this bottom hose, you know, from our bucket of ice water and the aquarium pump. It travels up, you know, up the inner part of the tube, and we will remove that water, so it goes out through the top. Always in through the bottom and out through the top. And this is actually for a quite simple reason. This is so that you can actually get the entire condenser to fill. If you, you know, tried to go the opposite direction, you would never get this little notch over here to fill. And that's quite important because that's the first source of coldness for your distilled product. This side over here, this is known as a takeoff adapter. So if we were trying to do this under vacuum pressure, we would be able to attach a vacuum hose here. But, you know, in this case, we don't want to do it under pressure. And of course, down below, we have our receiver flask. So this is where we will be receiving our distilled liquid. Okay, so these are all of the portions here that are required for the distillation apparatus.